In no way did the I Quit movement emerge overnight. A vast majority of people were already suffering from living in silent agony, performing their job duties. As we may imagine, coming to the terms with the pandemic's consequences has only brought truths to light, and employee disengagement is no exception. People working in the service industry, blue collar, white collar professionals are all quitting their jobs. At first glance, many blame their refusal to return to work, but on closer inspection, you find that these same people were preparing to leave their jobs anyway. The mere prospect of returning to work was just the trigger, a tipping point that motivated people to finally submit their resignation, which points to a much bigger issue known as the employee experience. This is a few things that an individual will face or witness during their time with a company. This includes their degree of engagement with their work, their time with the company, whether or not they have a sense of belonging, whether or not they are optimistic about their future with the company, whether or not they feel productive. Do they see meaning in the company's vision? Do they form meaningful connections with their boss and the people around them? For me, myself, I have worked in the corporate world, and I resigned there before the pandemic hit. And then I did sales for a few years, and the same thing happened where I did not feel appreciated, and I did not find those meaningful connections that are needed in a job. And so it eventually led me to look for ways to make money from home. And I think many people are doing the exact same thing. Okay. And so it's something that I can confirm. Ultimately, the decision for my resignation has been true for most, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it is also true for many others, which leads you to the question, why do so many people in the workforce have a bad employee experience? The obvious thing that people would probably point to is the toxic work area, the politics, I'm burnt out, I hate my boss, I don't have any meaning. But if you do look a little bit deeper, there is a big disconnect between the employer's perceptions and the employee's perceptions. There's been a few surveys done showing that 95% of workers are currently considering changing their jobs. Now, if that's you, let me know, because I think that's an interesting statistic right there. And it says 92% are willing to switch industries entirely to get a new position. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that there's really that massive percentage of people wanting to do that? Traditionally, employers used to have leverage in the job interview process, kind of believing that everyone is disposable. If you look back in time, there used to be a lot more industry jobs, conveyor belt jobs, and it was always easy to be replaced. And now employers are facing a global labor shortage. On top of that, employers are currently in a business environment that's getting more competitive by the day. And specialized talent, like digital marketing, like what I do, coding, or anything online, is becoming much more in demand and less replaceable. In the past, the majority of the workforce was made up, like I said, of factory workers doing the mundane tasks, sitting in the cubicles, putting things on conveyor belts, easily replaceable. And now the biggest asset of an organization is the talent, the knowledge, and the skills that live inside of us as employees. In other words, there's a growing percentage of the workforce that is no longer replaceable. Now, the businesses need to provide a tangible resource and the tangible experiences in the tangible productivity in the workplace to make people want to stay, right? So technology relies on people, on human talent to produce. And for a good example of that is someone making a website. You can't just make that out of thin air. It has to have someone behind the scenes pulling the trigger, doing all those different things. And it's not as replaceable. You need to go out and look for a certain individual like that. So hopefully you were able to get some insights on this. It has been a crazy time and movement as far as things going on in the future with life. The Great Resignation is a thing. I blame a lot of the things happening now on just the poor education. A lot of times people are just so focused on the science of, the history of 1892 instead of teaching people emotional intelligence, financial literacy, and self-awareness. And not teaching some of these things results in students not being aware of their own strengths and what they actually love to do and their own interests. It often leads to planning a career that they just don't enjoy in the long run, to just take jobs that pay more, but then they end up being miserable in the long run. But of course, this is just a very tough problem to solve. And the best thing that we can do is to just take a deep look in ourselves, think critically about your life and your career and where you're at, and start paying attention to what you're good at and what you love to do. See if there's any disconnections in your job and what you're doing currently versus what you'd like to do. Let me know in the comments if any of these things have struck a chord with you. Where are you at in your job journey? Are you doing the job that you would love to do? Or are you looking to possibly shift your career? If you want to join me and follow my marketing journey, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Like this video if you found value. And please, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.